Hi, hello. We are waiting for Heike to do this live about our journey with Leonard Orr. So let's wait Heike. Heike is already here. Hello, Heike. Thank you for coming and listening this live with Heike Strombach. Hello.
Hi again.
Hi. Okay, so here we are. Our journey with Leonard D. Orr.
Yes, we thought that is a fun topic so that we can share this with other people because it's not available right now for other people. So, but Leonard was a very unique person. But maybe we introduce each other first. I introduce you.
Okay.
So, Irene Jové Baumann, you have very rich life also before you started rebirthing as a social worker.
Mm-hmm.
That means you already know about human relationships and the difficulties of life that people can get themselves into. And you had your first 10 sessions before me, so in '89, actually 2 years before I started. So, and you met Leonard when he came to Catalonia.
Yes.
And you were so inspired by him that you already in 1990, you already had clients. You were also an astrologer and did Reiki and rebirthing sessions.
Yes.
And since 1997, you are a full-time rebirther. Is that right?
Yes, exactly.
And so,
no, sorry. Since 2007, I am full-time rebirther.
Right, but yes, okay.
In 97, I make more intensive my work with rebirthing. Yes, but full time since 2007.
And you're doing training since then, and you're also having a 1-year seminar. That was the seminar that Leonard loved most because it was people meeting once a month regularly and with the purpose for complete healing. And you are one of the very few in the world that has kept the 1-year seminar going. So that is very admirable. So, but you started actually with your father was very devoted to Krishnamurti.
Yes.
I really love that part of your life too, because you were very young and you were already into spirituality and exploring this kind of life. Yes. And you were already connected with masters, and that was one of the things that was very important for Leonard as well.
Yes, since I was 13 years, I went to Switzerland every year in the summer with my parents to see Krishnamurti. I didn't understand the language because I didn't speak English at that time, but I understood, I think, a little bit at least, the energy, the silence of Krishnamurti also, not only the words.
Beautiful.
I mean, he also communicates through silence, yes, through the energy.
Yes, that was one of the things that Leonard also taught. And so since you met Leonard, later we will talk about what attracted us most about Leonard or what was most special about him. And so you met him in a long time ago when he was going through his senility process, I think, as well.
Yes, exactly. In 90.
Yes,
No?
that his senility process started in 89 or something till 93.
Exactly. Yes, 88 till 93 or something like that. Yes.
Yeah.
And I met him just then. And it was interesting. Yes, as he said, interesting.
Right. For Leonard, everything was interesting. He wasn't
true.
complaining about life events, but he always thought they were interesting.
That's true. Okay, so shall I introduce you now, Heike? Okay, you are a rebirther since 91, and you met Leonard in California, in Campbell Hot Springs. That was a very beautiful center, and I think it still exists.
Yes, but not run by rebirthers. It's a bit run down.
in a different way. Okay, before you were not nurse in a geriatric care, and after you met Leonard, you lived in Campbell during 1 year, and then you traveled with him around the world many times, isn't it?
Yes.
In North, South America, Asia, Australia, what else? Europe, of course. So you also take care many times of Leonard Center, not only the last one in Virginia, also in New York, in Pennsylvania also, and you were supporting always Leonard until his last years.
Yes.
And yeah, for me, you are an example of like supporting, like a very fundamental support for Leonard, traveling with him in the centers around the world. So you have lots and lots of experiences with him you can share us. Today only a little part, but okay. So now you are the president of RIVA, Rebirth International. So I think that's a little bit the picture, no?
Yes.
Shall I say something else?
No, that's good. Thank you. I want to do lots of sharing, so many things. Oh, Anna from Brazil is here. Hey, Anna.
Good. Okay, so we can start. Well, we can start, no? We both had a deep personal connection with Leonard. And what did you feel in this spark of connection for the first time?
Well, actually, it was a very unique moment. I had heard about rebirthing in Australia, but I had to leave the country. That was before I knew rebirthing, but I had the word rebirthing in my mind because my friends in Australia had very profound experiences. And then I was traveling in California on my way back to Australia, and I visited by accident Leonard's Center, and I was so intrigued, and so then I decided to do a training there. And the woman in the office convinced me to do the 3-week professional training so that I could have my 10 sessions and be a professional rebirther. And Leonard came at the end of the first week, and the first session was mind-blowing. I mean, I was so in awe, and I felt so loved. And then and Leonard came, and when I was doing my sharing, I always teased him about that. He said, well, stay another 2 weeks. Well, I always teased him, and I said, you know, I stayed for 28 years, actually.
Wow.
So Leonard said, just stay another 2 weeks, which I was planning anyway. So I teased him on his psychic ability to know our future. But then he was still in his senility process, meaning that he wrote a lot about that he couldn't really get up. He was feeding. He was resting a lot, and he wasn't very functional in the world. So he was in his own inner deep healing process. And then he came for Easter, and he actually did he did a very special seminar, and we were sitting in the seminar room, and I just had heat waves. I felt an energy come from him that I hadn't felt in my life before, and it was like I could feel his presence, and I thought, oh, wow, he has a very special energy. And so in that moment, I connected with his divine self. And but still, he was not participating in Campbell Hot Springs for the first year very much. So, and then in that year, I prayed for a teacher, because Leonard was gone so much, but I felt I had outlived the teachers around, and I felt like I need somebody. I want somebody who can show me the way, or support me on my spiritual path. And so I was praying for a real teacher. And well, then at the end of the year, when Leonard came back from his travel in Europe, where you probably met him, then I became officially one of his 2 disciples.
He had 3 or 2?
2. One was an Indian man, and Leonard was always joking that he never did what Leonard told him to do.
Yeah.
Typical Indian, he would joke. And then me. And he would always comment that it's dangerous to have too many disciples, because they're like pulling on his energy.
That's true. I heard this.
I asked him at some point, don't say that anymore, because people are looking at me very strangely. Yeah, but we had a very, very special bond, and it was stronger than marriage, because he went through different marriages, but our bond was so strong that I couldn't leave. Even so, it was such a challenge sometimes to be around him that I thought of it a lot. But we had such a bond that it was unbreakable.
True.
So that's why I stayed around. So because he was a very strong triple Scorpio. He had his ascendant also in Scorpio, and he was what he wanted he would do. So he was not a compromising nature. He was very assertive in what he believed, and that he needed that to make physical immortality popular in the world. And
so you learned a lot with him during so many years.
Yes.
Okay. Today you will tell us a little bit about it. Okay, good. So my spark of connection with Leonard, it was I remember during the 10 first sessions, which I did at 89, I already felt a little bit of disconnection because through my rebirth. And then she told me Leonard would come to Catalonia, to Spain. And then I thought, I have to be there. I have to meet him. So it was very clear for me. I had to. So I was there, and there was the start of my deep connection with him. I loved him, his smile, his sense of humor very, very much also. The capacity, the ability to open my mind to all the possibilities. I love that. Yes, that was the fundamental. And let me see, because I have here a little bit wrote about it. So, yes, also I liked his spontaneity and naturality. He didn't care about being correct. I like this very much, like his inner child. He woke up my inner child as well through his inner child. Yes, yes, that was the most important for me at that moment.
Yeah. Leonard didn't care much about disapproval. If he felt like he had to do something, most of us are so conditioned that we want to do it right, that we are concerned what other people might think about us, and we are contemplating future feedback of other people. And Leonard called that the parental disapproval syndrome. So that we are always wondering when we would get punished in the future, so then we are controlling our action. And Leonard had, what I observed, none of it. So he would do things, and that was the most wonderful thing, but also the most scary thing about him, because he would do things that he felt are correct, and that, but other people didn't think necessarily they were correct. But yes. It wasn't intruding usually on other people, but it was just sometimes, like in India, breaking the rules, going the wrong way around the temple. Or people expected for Leonard to say good morning all the time, and he was so much in his thought that those conventions were not that important to him. So the wonderful side of it was, with him, I could do things that I would have never done alone. Because he was so daring. I tell you one story. Leonard had, when we were living in Chico, California, still at his house with his first wife, he had rattlesnakes in the garage.
What? Sorry?
Rattlesnakes. Poisonous snakes, the rattlesnakes.
Yes.
And so, but that is not about disapproval, but it was his fearlessness. And so he was standing behind a hose, and he was guiding, we had planned this, so he was guiding the snakes in my direction, and I was standing there with a big barrel, a big plastic box. And when he guided the snake into the box, and I had to turn it around.
Wow.
And we did that. And so with him, I did incredible things that I alone would have never dared to do. But because he had such a confidence about life, that was, of course, his belief of physical immortality was very helpful in that too. But his confidence and his trust in life, and the trust in the good things in life, and his fearlessness of what other people could think about him made his actions very unique.
Exactly, spontaneous. I love that part of Leonard very much. Yes. Beyond any strict thoughts, no?
Yes, and of course, there were many people that wanted him to be different and follow the rules, especially around the ashram. You know, he spent a lot of time in India and also in ashrams worldwide, and because he only followed the rules that he thought make sense.
Yes.
And that they have a purpose, because there's so many rules in many religions that don't make sense anymore and that don't have a purpose anymore, but people forgot why they put those rules in place. And they keep following the rules. That's why many of the religious practices are dying, you know, the church life, because there's only rules that people don't, there is no aliveness in there.
They are like mechanical, no?
Right.
Yes,
and
exactly.
So Leonard was totally into being spontaneous and alive, and yeah, that's why we love being around him.
Yes, it's true. So I have another question for you.
Okay.
What was special in Leonard's energy?
Yes. Well, as he was not afraid of disapproval, he also did not give real disapproval. He gave feedback, but he wasn't playing. I'm just reading again about the drama triangle, the victim, persecutor, and rescuer part. So Leonard was never involved in those roles of behavior, and so his energy, people would feel so loved just for who they are. They felt validated and listened to, because when people in the trainings or in public talks attacked him for talking about physical immortality, he would just sit there and love them and love the people who criticized him, and he would just give out that love that that was that people usually haven't experienced that. So that was his most beautiful quality, I would say. Besides that playfulness, that daringness to just love people for who they are.
Yes.
And if I would get upset about him not doing as I thought he should be doing, he would always, the next moment, he would be loving again. And sometimes I was really upset because, I mean, he would do things that, you know, probably most of us would get upset about. But he did it with love. He didn't do it. He didn't have any malintention. So
yes,
and that is something that we see in most people, and in most of us. We had times when we felt like, oh my God, you know, we were upset about something, and we felt like we wanted to give a repercussion to the person, but Leonard didn't have those traits, and I really learned a lot, and I felt like as long as I still have emotional things to heal, I will stay around. So yeah, so that's why I did. So no matter how upset I got about some of his actions and things that he did for his life, then I would always come around and just do my own healing work so that I process my own feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I loved her recognition about our divine nature. It was always there, this recognition. Mm.
Yeah, you could tell him things that you know, sometimes when I was gossiping and saying what was happening in the training, and I was saying this is happening, this is happening, and this is happening, his insights in the emotional case or the emotional story or history of somebody was always very deep. He would recognize what was going on inside of people that would color their divine nature, and he could look beyond that. So you did many trainings in the end, or in the later years since 2007 with him, right? So you organized for him also.
Yes.
What were your experience with that? Organizing for him was a challenge, right?
Well, for me it was quite easy.
Okay.
The last years, yes, I organized for him after Fanny. When Fanny went to America, then I started to organize. The first year was Fanny and me. She was in America and I was here in Spain. So we both organized. It was like the practical part. And then after the 2014, I started to organize Leonard. And it was quite easy. It flowed. Yes. So my experience was very good organizing for Leonard. I was very fortunate, I would say, because it wasn't, it wasn't always like this, but that was my experience. So yes, I organized until last year. Yes, the almost last seminar you organized for him the very last one in Europe. I organized in Portugal the second last, and yes, it was interesting experience, and also in Galicia and in Madrid and in Barcelona. Organizing was challenging. Yes, it was more, not the summer school. The summer school was easy, but maybe in Barcelona it was challenging because he told me through you. I had like 2 months or 3 months to organize a big training in Barcelona. So I said, wow, it's only 3 months to organize all this. It was like December, end of December, and the training was in March, I think. And then Leonard told me, let the energy in. So I trust, and it was a very big training, very big, like 80 people.
Yeah.
So,
So what was his message that you mostly felt coming to you from his life or from his teachings? What touched you most?
Okay, that's a very deep question. It could be like, be yourself, for sure. Be yourself. Trust yourself. Be yourself. Be creative. Don't let go of the mind pollution, you know. Energy pollution, but also mind pollution. So yes, trust life. yes, he gave me a lot of life force, life urge, because I used to have, when I met him, I was in a moment that I had a lot of death urge. I was very confused. That was good, a spiritual crisis, so that's good, no? But I felt very, very down, and so I could rebuild myself slowly from 90, when I met Leonard personally, till 94. I was rebuilding my roots, like removing and rebuilding myself and making strong my life urge. And since 94, my life urge was always strong enough to be creative, to love life, to trust life, trust relationships. And always when I went there to see Leonard, my life urge was bigger, increases my creativity, my ideas. Yes, since 2007, then I let go the work as a social worker, and since then I am totally, completely dedicated to rebirthing, which I love. Yes.
Yes, and you are also together with Armando Sanchez, you are running, or you are holding together Rebirth International in Spain. So
yes,
that's one other thing that Leonard really loved, is building community, because he always felt that we have to work out our struggles, our internal impurities with each other. So he believed that relationships are the fastest way to enlightenment. That was one of his.
That's true. And working with Armando has been always very easy for us, very easy and pleasurable. So now he's the president of RBI Spain, and it's a pleasure to help increase the organization and nurture this organization.
And we will all meet for the salt in Menorca again. It's the 3rd year now that we are meeting in Spain. And we are meeting in Menorca for the special advanced leadership training. Actually, the name was given by Leonard for his special trainings, in which he would give somebody, the participants in that training, they would receive a session from Leonard, because he wasn't very much giving individual sessions. Later, he was basically just doing his trainings. But in that training, people received a session from Leonard. And Leonard, I mean, that what you're saying, that his aliveness, so he had a lot of life urge or life energy that he was giving. I mean, he didn't believe in his own death till his last words, basically. He laughed about death because he had so much incorporated the belief in physical immortality. But even when he had very severe challenges, and everybody in his environment, besides the immortalists like me and some other friends, but his partner and everybody who was taking care of him, they all believed in his death. And so he was talking before always whose consciousness would win.
Yes, that's true.
The life urge or the death urge, or the immortal philosophy that he was embodying, or some people around him that were into mortal mentality. That's how he called that. That was mortal mentality. And so that he had such a strong conviction that I think he overlooked that he needed a change. You know, when we have the question, you know, why did he die? When he was proposing the idea of physical immortality, that's a difficult question. And I mean, he was only 80, so he wasn't even that old. And we were building a fence 5 years before, and we were standing on top of the fence in his pasture, in the horse pasture. And I said, wow, will we still do this in 10 years? And Leonard just looked at me and he said, I will. But I mean, you know, he could have, I mean, I don't want to say he should have, but he could have lived a more alive, based on spiritual purification. There was a time when I think he could have gone more into seclusion, taking rest, maybe going to India and living there.
I agree, yes.
Because he did have a lot of support also in India. But he felt like till the earth changes, till the earth changes that Babaji always talked about, the big changes of the uproar on the world, he felt dedicated that he had to give trainings and spread Babaji's message. Because Leonard was always teaching Om Namah Shivaya. No matter what people thought about it, he was always giving Babaji's message, and he felt dedicated to that. So he didn't take rest when he was supposed to do that.
Exactly. For him, it was more important the service, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, well, we all make our choices in life. And so his teaching was all about take care of your body, because he felt like Theorumula, one of the immortal yogis, he wrote poems, 3,000 poems. Every year he would write one poem for 3,000 years. And in one poem, Theorumula says, once I decided to take care of my body, my soul would take care of itself. So we have to honor and cherish the physical body. But I'm aware that there is some teachings that like to receive, the idea of physical immortality means we don't do that without spiritual qualities. It is not about fixing the body into a computer, into a robot. It is incorporating the eternal spirit into the physical body. That means the physical body, we have different bodies. We have the etheric body, the astral body, our I, and all these bodies are inside this physical body. And when we are totally connected with all of us to divine power, then the idea of physical immortality means that the physical substance is so entrenched, so immersed in the divine energy that it also transforms itself. But it's not just through replacing body parts or because that is nowadays many people use physical immortality, and you always have to look at what is the basic life philosophy. And for Leonard, it was incorporating the divine energy into the physical, to embody the God consciousness.
Exactly. For me, one of the most important lessons for me is about EEP, the conscious of our energetical body, the energetical pollution also, to learn to clean it. It's more important than the physical body, even because it nurtures the physical body. So
Right.
It's not about physical immortality in any case. It's about cleaning our energetical body and the feelings, the thoughts.
Right. Yeah. That's what I loved most. That's the mastery of life, and the temple, our physical body, the temple that is given to us, so that we take care of it in the best way that we can.
Exactly, and to practice spiritual purification days, for example, that are very valuous to clean this body, clean the mind, the body. I love that.
Yeah, I hadn't done fire for a week or something, and when I did fire, all the pain in my body disappeared. You know,
exactly.
It is so magical, and I was a bit slack, and I thought, oh, because sometimes it is a challenge to go outside or to do a fire,
or even with candles.
Right.
For people who doesn't have a fireplace, even with 12 candles or 10 or 8, depending of everybody and every moment. So that I love very much this lesson, this teaching of Leonard, already since 19, when I received my first training. That was something for me very impressive. The fire purification of our energetical body, this cleaning through the fire.
And in Menorca, we're going to spend a night out on the beach.
Oh, yes, that's true.
We did that last year, and we had a little Agnihotra dish, and we did fire and mantras and singing on the beach.
So we'll practice a lot. What we learned with Leonard in 5 days.
Right.
Double. Your experience, my experience, we'll enjoy a lot. Yes. And Menorca is such a beautiful island to do spiritual purification. Yes.
It's very pure and well kept. It's not destroyed with skyscrapers and too many hotels, so it's still beautiful nature around.
Yes, that's true. Could you share with us any other experience with Leonard, special, concrete? A few experiences with Leonard.
Well,
traveling, trainings, at home, at the center, whatever.
Vanessa is coming to Germany.
Yeah. Hi, Vanessa.
She organized for me in Brazil, and she came also. Vanessa did the 3-week training with Leonard in the US. Well, I think the word that Leonard said most to me was relax. Because being brought up in Germany, Germans are always under stress. I mean, that's a generalization, but we because of the parental disapproval syndrome that is so strong here, and we give a lot of disapproval, many of us are running high on urgency, because when we are afraid of disapproval, we have a lot of urgency. So one time we were traveling in the US. We traveled with his car, one of us driving, one of us sleeping in the back of the pickup truck. And so then we stopped at a campground for doing fire. And so Leonard went out. He always did fire alone. So Leonard went out and he did fire. And I went, after he was finished, I went there and did fire. When I did fire, the guy from the campground came out, because we just went to one of the camp places, you know, where there was a fire dish. And he blasted me. He gave me disapproval for doing fire. And I went back to Leonard complaining that I got the disapproval. And Leonard said, well, it's your disapproval case. Yeah. So he would always point out why we would attract things. And one time we drove a lot in Europe with my car, and my car was broke down, and we were stopping at a rest. I drove into a rest stop, and I had the pickup truck come out, and Leonard didn't even get out of the car. He said, "You created it. Now you take care of it." So it was all about taking responsibility for our creation. And so I had a lot of disapproval in myself. It took me a long time to really love myself. It's very different. And so Leonard would always point out, so we are in a shop somewhere and I'm complaining about something. And Leonard said, well, this is just another chance for you to disapprove of yourself. He would, and sometimes you didn't want to hear those smart comments, right? So he would always, living around him was teaching, was a continuous teaching. And as he was so spontaneous, it was never boring, and you never knew what was happening in the next moment.
That's true.
So he came up, you know, in the middle of the training, he decided, okay, let's go sightseeing here. And then he said, oh, let's go. And you always had to deal with his spontaneous ideas. And so it made me, I think, very relaxed. I mean, the outcome is that I am mostly very relaxed, no matter what happens in life. You know, it takes a lot nowadays to blow me out of my peace, you know. But when 30 years ago, my peace was disappearing very quickly.
Yes, for me, that's true that for me, you are like very open-minded, very flexible, you know, and also very humble. And I know that it's also through this work with Leonard.
Yes. Yeah. Leonard would always say it was Babaji's job to crush everybody's ego. So Babaji in Hedakan did always things that, you know, if you had any pride, any ego invested in what you were doing, he would shatter your pride. And Leonard had the same attitude, you know, when I was proud of something in an egotistical way, not just happy about my accomplishments, but in an egotistical way, he usually would point that out. And so, and I couldn't run away because I had made that commitment to him that he was my guru and that he had the right to do so. I wouldn't have taken this kind of feedback from anybody else, but from him, because I had humbled my ego, so to speak, to his guidance. He taught me a lot, and not that I think that he was always right, or that he was always that he didn't make mistakes. He did make his mistakes, and I could. Sometimes it was confusing because I felt he was making a mistake, but he said he was doing the right thing. But I always listened. And I think that was a beautiful thing about him too. He always listened to what I had to say. Even when I was complaining, he would always listen and consider what I had to say.
Interesting. Once I made him a question. I asked him which percentage or average. What is the word in English?
What
percentage?
Yeah, what percentage?
What percentage of your emotional mind you have healed and you still have to heal? And he said, good question. I will think about it. But he didn't answer me. But it was nice, his answer. No? Yeah. I mean, he would think about it. So there was still a part of his emotional mind, probably because I don't know, but probably that he still had to heal, because he said to heal the emotional mind, it's like from 50 years till 100 years. It takes from 50 till 100 years.
Yeah.
To heal.
He was always talking about his not being loved. My grandparents' clock is going, so we have to endure that for a moment. Okay, so he was always commenting on him not feeling wanted by his mother, and that he could never please her, and the punishments that he received. And I think when he was listening to disapproval, I think he was always looking in himself also what he needed to heal. But he felt quite certain that, and in his reactions, because they were not, he wasn't getting triggered. Like most of us, we get triggered and we respond, first reaction. And then we might contemplate and we can hold it back, but we still have those triggers that put us into an emotional state. But Leonard rarely felt, I rarely saw him overwhelmed by emotional triggers.
That's true.
He did have his opinions about things, but he wasn't having those initial reactions.
That's true.
So he was a special guy, and both of us were very privileged that we had so much time with him. But now I think, you know, he's watching from the world of spirit and inspiring us still with what we are doing. And I think he really enjoys our relationship. So because he wanted spiritual community, and his teachings, of course, that they also continue. So for him, it was very important that people do individual sessions, that they they take responsibility for being there for their clients and building spiritual community. And both of us are doing that, and that's that is beautiful.
Yes, and we'll enjoy a lot the training in Menorca.
Yeah, we should say something about our 400-hour training. So as with Reba, we have decided that we want to do high quality training, because we are aware that there is 3-day rebirther trainings, that you can become a rebirther in 3 days. And for Leonard, it was very important. He was doing the 9 days, but more than half of our participants usually were people that were repeating the 9 days. So we have many friends who would keep coming for training, and that was Leonard's idea, because he felt we are never finished with the training, because we have to heal our emotional mind, and that way going deeper. And so now you, me, and then Peace, Virginia Arnold, and Sarah Dawn, we have all decided that we, and Armando Sanchez, of course, that we continue the quality trainings. And so we have different levels. We have the 3-week first training, the 3-week professional training, and that's level 1 to 3. Then we do level 4 is when people take 3 people through 10 sessions with supervision, and then we have them being an assistant in one of our trainings, and then the SALT, which is basically, you can do the SALT even if you're still in the process of taking 3 people through 10 sessions, or if you still have to be an assistant afterwards. But the SALT is special because you and me together, that's the only training that you and we do together every year, that we go very deep in different topics. We talk about the archetypes, and you go deeper into the birth script, which I really love when you're doing that, and deeper into the parental parental disapproval
syndrome. Yes.
So and we meet again in Menorca from the 3rd till the 7th of June. So it's only 3 weeks to go. We do have places available. Right. So, and it's a group that is mixed with Spanish probably, and Dutch, and maybe German people. So it's it's multicultural group.
Yes, it's an interesting opportunity to join and enjoy with us and learn together.
Yes, and we will also have lots of fun time on the beach after we complete the work in the evening and before in the morning. And I'm looking forward. I hope I can sleep out on the beach a few nights. I love that. We did that last time too.
Yes. I am very enthusiastic about these 5 days in Menorca, sharing with you the group in the nature, very present, and it's beautiful, the place. We already were there last year, so it's nice to know already.
And we have bathtubs in each apartment, and so we have all the purification possible that Leonard used to teach us.
Okay, yes. So if anybody is interested, can write us, no? to our emails or below this recording, because it will be on our Instagram. This interview, this talk.
Yes, and if you are interested in trainings or knowing more about us, you can also contact us and become a member of REBA. That is also a possibility.
Good. Great.
Okay, any last words that you have about our past with Leonard?
Joyful. It has been great to share with him so many years. It's, for me, it's make my mind more flexible, bigger. He creates space in my mind, and also increase my life urge, help me to dissolve that urge. So I'm excited to share all this with Leonard, which I think, well, I feel he's here with us. Right. In a level, no? In some level. So he's still available in some level.
I tell you a dream I had last week. I was asking him a question, and in the dream, Leonard came and he said I had weeds growing under my altar, and then I pulled out, and I had a big weed that I pulled out, and so he's still guiding me. so
yes, he's very present. So we can share lots of things beyond this little interview with us, with you.
Okay, so only 3 weeks to go. Lots more stories we're going to share at another time. And thank you, Irene, for being on this path with me.
Thank you, Heike.
And everybody watching, sending love to all of you, and hope you got inspired. And yes,
any question you can write us.
And do high quality individual breathing sessions if you haven't done so, with a good rebirther that is well trained, and you will have amazing experiences.
Many blessings.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Namah Shivaya. Thank you, Heike. Thank you all.
Thank you, Irene. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye-bye.